Monsieur Justin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Welcome to the podcast. Super excited to have you.
Oh.
I met you on Clubhouse.
Yes.
Which is so crazy. And I credit you, Corey too, to be fair. But like, I think you... So when I was on Clubhouse, a lot of people had like businesses and stuff like that. And, you know, I was on there for help, you know, with Tony the Closer. And I was just trying to be in the room, literally, right? No pun intended. And ended up getting connected with you guys, which was really cool. And then you mainly encouraged me to write this ebook. And I was like, I've never written an ebook. And what software? And you're like, Google. Phone, you know, like get it done. And it took me 4 months. I don't know if we ever talked about that, but it took me a long time to like get over myself. And I did all of that just to make it free. And then, so I grew my email list, which was great. But I was really surprised, like, as I got to know you guys better and understand, because I had always followed Support Black Colleges, but I didn't know you guys behind the brand. Like, you guys see you in the promo, but I honestly thought you were one of the models.
Oh, thank you.
So, and I think you had a few photos on the website where you were actually just like wearing the clothes. So I was really amazed with how willing you were to like provide guidance and just very, like you gave me your number and everything. And we were talking about like, you know, walking me through it, like little stuff now that I laugh about, but like, okay, like how do I edit it? And you're like, you go on Fiverr and you find an editor. And I'm like, wow.
You were new in the space. So
I was brand new in the space. I didn't know anything about marketing or funnels or any of that stuff. So I just, if I haven't given you your flowers sufficiently, I just wanted to like formally say thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate that. You executed on everything. That's the best thing you could ask for. It's like,
I appreciate that.
So because you were doing the free book, well, which you made it free against my suggestions, but then you started to do some coaching on top of it.
Did.
So how did that end up going?
It was really well. So I never mustered up enough courage to like market or promote. So there was never a link on the website where you can book or a brochure or anything like that. It was kind of just word of mouth. So Words Taylor was one of my first clients.
I remember.
Do you remember Crystal from Milky Mama?
Yeah, I do.
She was technically my first client because she was asking me to help her with reels, and she's like, okay, so how much? And I was like, oh no, it's free. It's, you know, I just, you know, I love you. And, and she's like, absolutely not. And she's like, you're going to take this money. And it was really interesting. So she paid me $1,000 for a 4-week coaching. And then it's funny on Words. So you know, Words lives in Dallas now. And so we were talking about on his interview that I had done earlier in the year, and he was laughing because he was like, he understood the value of organic traffic to a product, which I didn't understand the worth of that. Right. So he was like, you getting how many views on Reels? And I was like, he's like, yeah. So he's like, are you you're charging for this? Obviously, like, what's your price? And I was like, oh, $1,000 for 4 weeks. And he's like, okay. And then I would be pressuring him. I was like, but you have to sign up tomorrow. I'm going to double it. He's like, girl, double it. Like, because, you know, compared to like what you would spend in ads. So then from there, and then I got another client and another client.
I was your client.
Yeah, you were my client for a little bit. So that was great. And I learned a lot just being in proximity. And then you guys connected me to like David Shands and to Neo and to Van and all of them. So it really changed like the trajectory of my entrepreneurship journey for sure. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, that's great. You're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so for those who don't know what Support Black Colleges is, like talk to us about your start.
Yeah, so Support Black College is just a brand. We sell t-shirts and hoodies and stuff online, but we do it for HBCUs. And for those that don't know, HBCUs, historically Black colleges, universities. So we pretty much make merchandise for all of the HBCUs across the nation, people that are in college, going to college, and then alumni as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you're originally from Houston.
Houston, Texas. Yeah.
Okay. And then how did you make it to Atlanta? Like, talk to us about that journey.
Yeah. So after I graduated college, I moved back to Houston. That was a real tough time in my life. It's just a lot going on. I was super popular in school, hundreds of thousands of followers, made a lot of money in school, throwing parties. And then when I graduated, I didn't have a job offer. I didn't have a place to stay, a car, like no internship, like nothing, but I was popular. So I was like really depressed at that time. Dang. And then I moved back home to Houston, which is also depressing. Like you living with your parents after college, you thinking that your life gonna be totally different.
You've arrived.
Right. Yeah. But then I moved back with my mom. I applied to like 50 jobs in like 2 days. I got one that was paying $1,000 a week. And then I went and did that job. But moral of the story after that, I ended up, Corey called me one day. He was like, yo, bro, come down to Atlanta. I got a 2-bedroom. My roommate's moving out. Like, let's do this Support Black College thing. And I was like, like I got a decent job. Yeah. And I was doing some stuff on the side too, like growing people's Instagram and whatnot. And then also like transparently, I was doing some illegal stuff on the side too. But, you know.
Respect.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing all of that, and I ended up saving up like $26,000 or so.
Wow.
Because I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people. So,
damn.
Yeah. So basically, when I graduated, or when I left my mom's house, I got my own apartment. And I was by myself, but then my cousins like came over to just kick it one day. Yeah. And they're like, yo, bro, like stuff's really messed up at our place. Like our mom's doing X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, y'all can come just stay with me, bro. Just split the rent. And rent was $700. So 5 ways is like nothing. We $100, $200 between, like, I think 3 of us were actually paying it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing $4,000 a month in my job. So I'm just stacking up cash.
That's awesome.
And I'm stacking it up. And then I remember 2017, I put 16,000 into like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and that just did really well. And then I had $10,000 and 2 pennies left in my bank account. Corey's like, yo, come down. I'm like, no. I stayed for like 6 months.
No.
Like, and I'm like, I do want to do it, but I'm like, I'm making good money. I'm making a lot of money doing stuff I shouldn't be doing. And then 6 to 8 months went by, and then like something happened to where it was like, all right, you're either about to go full force in the dark side, or you're gonna like try something new and like just change your situation up. Wow. So I ended up moving to Atlanta and then doing Support Black Colleges with Corey after that situation happened. And I was like, bro, I don't know what this other side is going to look like, but I'd rather just try that out. And I'll be saying that too to like new entrepreneurs as well, because the thing is like most people stay where they are because it's comfortable, you know? So it's just like, oh, I know what this is. I know where this is going. But for me personally, where I was at was going to take me to either jail or death. So I was like, I know where this is leading. It's actually more risky for me to stay here than it is to try something new. So I just left what was comfortable only because it was actually more risky to stay.
Interesting.
And then I left and went to Atlanta, and we started doing Support Black College more seriously. So that's how I got to Atlanta.
That's amazing. So many of the entrepreneurs who we've interviewed so far on the podcast have this like critical moment where it's like you're at a fork in the road and you go left or you go right. Yeah. And it feels like I haven't interviewed a single entrepreneur who didn't have that rubber meets the road moment. Yeah. And it, you know, do you think, and I asked this to another person we interviewed, I asked this to Neo actually, I said, do you feel like you have to kind of have like a like near-death experience or a go, no-go? Like, do you have to arrive to the fork, or is there a way to like get into entrepreneurship when it's not so dire? What do you think?
I think that there is. This is the thing. Humans are motivated by 2 things, inspiration or desperation. More than likely, though, we hit that desperate spot and then our back's against the wall and we have no choice but to move forward. Right. But there is a way to not be motivated by the desperation. You can look towards the positive things and be pulled, but it's a lot easier to be forced off the wall by being desperate than it is to just look where you want to go and then be inspired and pulled forward. So you can do that, but most of us just typically hit the floor and then have to stand up.
I'm one of them.
So. Me too. So, you know, but it's a different way.
Yeah, because that fight or flight and like your adrenaline starts rushing and there's something that just clicks to where you're going to make it work because to your point, you just don't have another choice. Yeah. Cool. So what was your mindset when you first arrived in Atlanta? Like, you know, if you can think back to that version of Justin, where was your head at?
It was so funny because me and Corey went to college together. So when I moved back to Atlanta, Corey's thinking like, yo, we're about to be like partying, having fun, kicking it, doing some work too. But he remembered like college version of me because I was super popular, throwing parties, getting drunk, like whatever, like literally whatever I wanted to do. And
I can't even imagine that. Like from the time that I've known you, I cannot even imagine that.
I literally was like,
you're like the most chill, quiet.
I know.
You know, are you still sleeping on the floor, by the way?
Yeah, I do.
You're gonna have to tell that story as well.
All right, I will. So I moved. So when me and Corey sees a totally different version of me. So I move into the apartment with Corey, and he's thinking we're about to be partying, brunches, this, that. And then I swear to you, the first 90 days in Atlanta, I went in my room and closed the door and I barely left. And I did that because I knew that I had to change my identity when I changed to Atlanta, because I knew that like the things that I wanted were on the other sides of like identity shift and a habit shift. So all the things I was doing in college weren't gonna stand if I wanted to be a high level entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So the first 90 days, like the mindset shift that you're talking about was, I need to figure out what makes money in this business that I'm doing. And I wasn't doing support Black colleges yet. That didn't come until a month after I moved down to Atlanta. Yeah, so I'll get into that too. So I was actually managing people's Instagram accounts, like growing their Instagram followers and whatnot, charging $100 a month, and I was getting the service for $10. So I was making a decent spread. And I was like, all right, what are the 3 things that make me money in this business? And I was like, I'm just going to do those all day long for 90 days. And that's what I did. Because most of the time you see entrepreneurs like, oh, I need to like meditate and I need to read a book and then I need to write down what I'm grateful for. And then I have to do a cold plunge and then I have to like go to the
cold plunge.
Like I was just like, my theory was, if I get rid of all of the other stuff that I have to add on and I only focus on the things that make money, then I'll probably be able to like supercharge my revenue. And I was able to do that. I just reached out to clients, nurtured the clients, and then onboarded clients. That's all I did all day long. And I went from like $0 to like $5,000 a month. And then like the next month after that, I got up to like $10K a month. And then from there, Corey was like, yo, Support Black College is like on the brink of taking off, jump in with me. And then I jumped in and then that's when we got started.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Have you read the book 12-Week Year?
Yeah. I literally have if you see my wall, I'll show you if you come over. Literally a whole wall whiteboard of just 12-week year stuff.
Yes. It sounds like you almost put yourself through a 12-week year. I don't know if you'd read the book by then.
Mm-hmm. No, I hadn't. It was my first, like, I just read it maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah. I really like the 12-week year because it focuses on inputs.
Yeah.
You cannot control output. Like what you control, like even like when you're thinking about content, you have no control over if it goes viral or not. Right. You have control over how much you study content, how much time you put in to improve your content, your preparation. That's what you can control. Yeah. So, 12-week year talks about like razor sharp focus for 12 weeks. And instead of thinking, I have a year, trying to get it done in 12 weeks, which is incredible. And I've gotten so much done, right? And so I love the fact that you were kind of putting yourself through that before you even knew about the concept.
Didn't know because the one I saw a video, and that's why I did the thing that I did. The video is basically saying like the difference between the wealthy and the super wealthy is not what they do, it's what they don't do. So it's like, so when I realized that, I was like, oh, I'm just saying yes to everything because I'm in a space of I want to make more money. And I was like, I need to be saying no to everything and only saying yes to the things that actually make money in the business. So I think that entrepreneurs get that wrong too. It's like, I'm so fresh, I'm so new, anything could work, so I'm saying yes to anything. Yeah. When in reality, you probably should say no to almost everything except for one thing. And that was my take on it. It was like, yes, you're in a place of almost desperation. You're new to entrepreneurship, but don't say yes to everything. Just pick one thing. Don't add anything else and just do that all day long. You'll probably be successful.
I agree 100% with you. I think that being focused on the things that you can control and narrowing your focus. But to an extent, I think that sometimes, at least for me, being too focused can also be an inhibitor because so for example, so for Instagram Reels, it can kind of lead you down a path of perfectionism. Like, I have to perfectly know my niche. I have to perfectly know my avatar. I have to, and when you're starting, you really just got to try a bunch of shit and see what works. Right. And so I struggled with trying to find a balance between staying focused and not getting distracted, but being willing to suck at enough things that you'll figure out what you're good at.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, see, I'm blessed in that area to where I think what you're talking about is almost like a personality thing too. So for me, I've always been the type, how do you find your avatar? I'm like, just put out a bunch of content and then people will start raising their hands saying, oh, I like that. And then you can dive more deeply into that person. Even with Support Black College, we tried paid advertising, influencer marketing, content creation, all of this stuff in the beginning. But then basketball players started to like really like our stuff. I'm like, I bet, like, let's double down on the basketball players. So
you did. You made it all the way to the NBA. You guys had some great partnerships.
Yeah. So that was always my thing was like, just try everything really quickly and then see what you get some feedback on and then just double down on what you're getting good feedback on. So,
have you always been like fearless to like fail fast and fail often?
I think so. I think it just stems from probably how I was raised. I think like a lot of entrepreneurship stems back to like how you were raised too.
Yeah.
And I always say this, like, show me the boy, I'll show you the man. So it's like the things that you learn from the age 0 to 7 pretty much is like the personality traits that you take on to manhood or adulthood. So for me, my mom would always be like, my dad wasn't in my life. He went to jail when I was 2. He got out when I was 17. And my mom, I would always be wondering like, why doesn't he want to be around? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And then my mom was like, no, you're a star. Like, you're great. We don't need him. We've gotten this far without him. You'll be fine. You're amazing. Like, which is all
affirming
of that.
You, yeah.
Over and over and over again. So anytime I would do something, it wasn't from a place of like, oh, cocky or I'm great or I'm whatever. It's just like, I can do these things. And it was interesting because like I didn't know anxiety existed until like a year ago or like 2 years ago or something. And I had felt it one time, like I was in a car with my friends and it was smoking. I don't smoke though or drink. And I started to feel like anxious or like paranoid. And I'm like, this is very interesting. But then I was immediately able to like think myself out of it and just be like, I mean, I'm in a car with a bunch of my friends. Like, no one's trying to hurt me or taking advantage of me. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then I realized that feeling that I was feeling was like anxiousness. And I was like, wow, people feel like that all the time. That's crazy. And I didn't understand the like brevity of the situation. And then now I have like a lot of respect for people that like still fight through, you know, their anxiety to do entrepreneurship and all these other things because that's very real. And I'm just grateful that like the way I was raised, for some reason, these things that people struggle with that are meritable, I don't deal with them at all. So it's just for whatever reason. Yeah.
There's a book called Unfair Advantages. And it sounds like, it sounds like you being a product of where you came from, right? So for example, like they talk about Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, for example. Like, yes, they were brilliant, but they were also at the right place at the right time with the right connections. And those are things that you can't quite earn, right? Like who your family is or if you have resources or if you have money or connections or whatever the case may be.
1,000%.
Was there anything else like, you know, from your mom that you learned? Because you guys are super close. Yeah. And, you know, when the limited time I got to work with you, it was great to see your guys' relationship. Oh, nice. Yeah. And even when we did like the reels and stuff with her, like she was a great sport. And she supported like all of the things that you were doing. Right. Were there any other lessons that you learned from your mom that helped you with business? I would probably say 2. Now that you're bringing up the like support side of it, my mom has always been 1,000,000% down with anything that I'm trying to do. Really? 1,000,000%. And I've been doing some very questionable things. Very questionable. What's the most questionable thing that you brought to your mom that you were surprised or that she supported you with? She supported me with like network marketing. We're trying to get her to sign up for something. She supported me like, I'm trying to think, what else? Literally anything that I bring to her, she's just like, go crazy. Like, I believe in you. Like, I used to, when I was in college, I used to tell stories about like, it's so crazy. So you knew me when my Instagram was iHo Nation. Yeah, so that comes from in Houston. It's like a inside joke. So when you're like roasting people or like talking about them, they call it hoeing in Houston, like where I'm from. So like, and I was really good at just, you know, doing that in high school. You know, your homies, you just whatever. Yeah. So I changed my Instagram handle to iHo Nation and I showed my friends. I'm like, oh, bro, look at my Instagram. And then everybody's just like laughing or whatever. But then people actually started calling me that and like in college. And then I started to do this thing called iHo Story Time. So I was gaining, I remember like I had like hundreds of thousands of followers like telling stories on Twitter about all of the like random stuff that I would do in college, messing with girls, getting drunk. And like it was so crazy. I would tell a whole story. Every tweet would get like 2,000 to 3,000 retweets. That's and then crazy. At the end, I would expose the person that was like a part of the story. So I like really like at them? Yeah, I just add them and be like, yeah, this is who this story was about. And I just didn't know. I was like so young. I was like 16, 17. Did you ask them before you? Nah, I was just like, I was literally, that's why I said I was doing whatever I wanted. So, and then even through that time, my mom is like, you know, messaging me or whatever. And she's like, oh, all of my friends are telling me that you're telling stories on Twitter. Like, your mom was reading them? Yeah, she would read them. Like my grandma would read them too. Was your grandma equally down? My grandma she's like everybody's spirit animal. That's like so funny. My mom sent me a video of my grandma like probably 2 weeks ago. She said, look at Meemaw getting down on the dance floor. I guess they all went out and then she was just literally dancing. Like, that's crazy. So, but moral of the story, anything that my mom was always like this. She would tell me, these are the things that you're doing, and this is the consequences that can come from them. You're a man.
I'm telling you the consequences. You're going to listen to me or you're not. And then if you don't listen to me, then this consequence can happen. But no matter what decision you make, I'll still be here to support you and still be here to like make sure that, you know, even if it doesn't go right, I'm still here for you.
That's awesome.
So I even do that with like new students and entrepreneurs, because the way that I look at it is like, I don't like to tell people what they should, have to, or must do. I like to just say, hey, this is what I've done. And this is all of the realms in which I've done it. So let's say e-commerce. I've done e-commerce. I've done drop shipping. I've had a warehouse, did it myself. I've done print on demand. I've done all of it. So I know how to teach you how to do all of it. But I'm not going to tell you, hey, you need to do drop shipping. Like, that's not my vibe. So I'm just like, what are your skill sets? What are the character traits you have? And what type of lifestyle do you want? Because all of these different options afford a different lifestyle, different profit margins, different amount of people that you have to talk to on the daily basis, and a bunch of other things. So I like to look at people's strengths and then tell them these are the business models that fit within that. And then you can pick that, because people make a very big mistake that I made myself too. It's like, how do I want to explain this? You build your lifestyle around your business rather than building your business around your lifestyle.
I've done that.
So
100%.
I was like, yo, it would probably be really cool to have a 10,000 square foot warehouse with 30 employees, and I'm that guy. But then when you get into it and you realize
that guy was at the warehouse all the time.
Yeah, you're at the warehouse all the time. You're running the operations. You're manning 8 sewing machines. And I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm really good at creating demand. I'm really good at content creation, and I'm really good at customer service too. But that doesn't lend itself to doing this business like this. So I need to be picking a business that lends itself to the lifestyle that I want to have, as well as the skill sets that I have as an entrepreneur, rather than just doing something because it looks cool or because someone told me to do it.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. And I think even with that, like, how was it? So for context, you were running Support Black Colleges through a warehouse here in Atlanta. You were graciously let me come and visit when I got a chance to come down in the pandemic. And you literally would clock 14, 15 hours in the warehouse. And I know that you guys eventually made the decision to kind of transition that out.
Right.
And it was rough, right? Between you and Corey. So a lot of stuff that we see online is like the highlight reels, right? All the stuff that's going right. You guys had an NBA partnership for the All-Star game, which was phenomenal. You guys are featured in video games, and you guys are always with celebrities, which is amazing, right? And kudos to you. But there's also some real challenges that you have had. Do you mind telling us about some of those?
Oh, yeah, 1,000%. So some of the bigger challenges is just like supply chain management. So, you know, you do a Black Friday and then you get 14,000 orders. And then it's like, all right, well, we have some of the inventory and then some of it we didn't have. So we were doing it based upon our manufacturers telling us that they could get the inventory made no matter what and get it to our customer by Christmas, because that's when they're expecting it. But then patches are slowed down from this place, or raw fabric isn't coming from that place as quick as we thought. So now we're making a front-facing decision to sell whatever we want, to then think that we're going to get it to the customer by the desired time, but then that doesn't happen. So now you got 14,000 or probably more or less people mad at you. And then now you have to like make very crucial decisions on like, how do I refund these people, but not go out of business, but also get certain people their stuff because we do have it. And then also we did 14,000 orders, so we need to hire a bunch of people to help us too. But
like, give me perspective for those who like are not in supply chain. Like, what does 14,000 orders feel like? Like, how much money is that? How much time is that? Like, give us some context.
Ridiculous. So within 30 days, we did like $1.1 million in sales.
Oh my God.
So that's 14,000 orders, however much average order value there. And I just remember going to the warehouse. It was crazy. We had a table like this big, and I'll show you the video after, and like piles of printed out labels, like 12, like this big. And we just...
and you guys were packing them yourselves at that point?
Packing them ourselves, yeah.
You had like family members helping you, friends helping you?
Corey's family worked with us. I hired 2 of my friends to come down. And honestly, like, that's why I like the trenches so much, because there's things that you learn in the trenches that you just can't learn from the mountains.
No.
So I personally went back to ship 14,000 packages with the crew, but that was during this difficult time. I actually just posted about this on Instagram, where we hired like 30 people to help us with all of these orders. But then you got people, some aren't trained. Some are okay. Some are slacking, but they're all new hires. Some are part-time, some are full-time. It's just a lot. And then we're shipping all of these orders out. Some of them aren't trained, so the orders are wrong. So now you have exchanges coming. It's just so much that's going on with 14,000 orders in general that it just makes it super difficult to navigate. So, that was to answer your question, it's like one of the more difficult times, just trying to man that. Then you got, the folks over at the Shade Room and these other publications like trying to highlight us. And then they're like, yo, we're going to tell this story no matter what. Mm-hmm. Do you want your input in it or not?
Dang.
And I'm like, all right, so we can either just let them run it and who knows what they're going to do, or we can just have a say-so in it. So we just chose to show up and, say something to these people, just to reassure the customers, and what else could we do? You know what I mean? Like, take accountability for everything and then reassure them that we'll find a way to fix it.
Aside from just physically how grueling it is to do 14,000 orders, what type of headspace were you in at the time?
Me personally, I always like to operate from a headspace of no hard work goes unnoticed. So for me, even when we were first starting, me and Corey, we were carrying bins of clothes to these pop-up opportunities. We didn't even think to get a dolly to to move stuff. Yeah. So we're going in and out of his car and my car, taking 50-gallon bins of hoodies up and down 3 flights of stairs to go in and out of the house. And we stored everything in our house. And I would just always tell myself over and over again, no hard work goes unnoticed. No hard work goes unnoticed. What you're doing will be rewarded in some way. It might not be right now, but it will be rewarded some way in the future. So when I'm going through times like that, I just keep reminding myself that it's you doing this right now, I guarantee you 6 months from now, 12 months from now, 12 years from now, the hard work will not go unnoticed. Yeah. And I just held on to that. And
you mentioned that there's lessons in the trenches. Looking back now in hindsight, what were the biggest takeaways that you were able to glean from those really tough situations?
I think it was really the relationship that I was able to build with our employees, because what that showed them was I'm not a boss, I'm a leader. So and
there's a difference.
Big difference. So I'm not bossing you around telling you to ship 14,000 packages the right way. Things are messed up right now, and I'm willing to come to the trenches to show you how to do it right and do it with you all day long so that you can see. And then I saw the level of reverement and respect that grew in the culture that it brought. So one of the things that I took away really was you can't be afraid of the trenches, and you really should honor them, because when you do that and you do those types of things with your employees, it's just a level of respect that just takes the company to no other place. Because then now, whenever I was doing anything after we made it out that situation, I'm like, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z this way or that way? Or do you need me to help you? They're like, nah, Justin, you good. We see what you're willing to do, you know, when it comes down to it. So it helped out with the culture a lot.
Yeah. So it's kind of relationship building is give and take, right? And when you're working shoulder to shoulder and you're leading from the back and not from the front,
right?
Then you have the ability to then make those withdrawals later after you've consistently made deposits. Yeah. So I appreciate that. Was it weird seeing the story on Shade Room and because you're also very private. It's weird. You're in front of a lot of people a lot, but in terms of your personal business, you're still very private. Right. So was that a weird situation, or is that one of just those situations where you're just it is what it is and moving with the punches?
Yeah. So even with me, we get posted on Hollywood Unlocked, the Shade Room, Spiritual Word, all of these pages a lot, and there's all types of comments. Me personally, I just don't even read it. Or the way that I think about it is I'm very empathetic. So in my head, I look at the comments or I look at what people are saying, and then I feel really bad for them, because it's just man, I'm trying to do something good for our community and uplift college kids and college alumni to have pride in their universities. Mm-hmm. So for you to see something, whether we're doing something good or whether we're in a negative light, and then to say something negative about us when our true intention is just to help people, it shows a lot about what you're going through in your personal life. So I'm damn, you must be going through something very difficult for you to see 2 kids that come from single mother homes that bootstrapped the business with their own money, saving for multiple months, then got it to millions of dollars in sales. Yeah. then to say something negative, I'm like, bro, I feel so bad for you. So like, I'll respond to a lot of people too and be like, yo, are you going through something that you need to talk about? Or like, what's up? Because
they're popping off in the comments like you know them personally. And you're like, it's clearly not about you at that point.
Right. So then once I realized that, I was just like, oh, it's not about what I'm doing or who I am. It's more so about like what they got going on. And I always like tell this story. I was dating this girl and we went to the mall together and there was like women that would walk by and then she'd be like, oh, look at her shoes and look at her dress. Like, why she dressed like that? And when I thought about it, I was like, damn, I wonder what she's saying to herself when she looks in the mirror. So I realized that the things that you're saying about other people, especially negative, a lot of the times, not all the times, but a lot of times it's some things that you're saying to yourself that are very similar, because the outward talk that you have about people is a lot of times like the inward talk that you have about yourself. Yeah. So I felt bad for her, just like I felt bad for like other people in the, comments and stuff too.
Yeah, they say you can't extend empathy or love beyond the capacity you have to love yourself.
There you go.
Right? And I think that's super powerful and very, very important as an entrepreneur, because you're going to get tested, you're going to get tried. It is just not going to be easy.
Right.
So those were difficult situations, but it's hard, especially with you being so even keel. And now we know you come from a long line of very like level-headed women, so it makes sense. Right. But was there any moment that for you was like you were back at the crossroads, like, damn, I don't know if this is going to work out. Like maybe I need to turn back, or maybe I need to do something different.
Yeah, for sure. Even that time with all of the orders, I was so. What happened was, and I actually just posted about this the other day, but I want to tell you the story. And then I try to go a little bit more deep in detail.
Okay.
Hired all of these employees. Me and Corey had a conversation, like, how are we going to get these orders out? We disagreed on how we should make it happen. I wanted to go and do it ourselves. Like me and Corey get back in the trenches with our core staff that we have and just kind of muscle through because they already are trained. He wanted to hire a bunch of like part-time people to, bring in, and we need like, all of these people to fold clothes and et cetera. We disagreed and we ended up going with his suggestion. Because at that point it was 3 of us, his sister, him, and me, and then we would just do like majority rules. And then we ended up majority rules in that way. Okay. So then now our payroll went up significantly. So now it was $16,000 every 2 weeks. So it was $32,000. Right. It was $32,000 a month. And we ended up like, hiring more, firing more, or whatever. So it got around $12,600 every 2 weeks. And there was a moment where we had $12,000 in the business bank account, and the payroll was $12,600. So I pulled $600 out of my own account, put it into payroll. Payroll got paid, and then we had $0 in the business bank account. But obviously in business, you need money daily to ship orders, operate, et cetera. So I had to take everybody to the back of the warehouse and all 30-ish employees that we had. And I'm like, hey, look, we had something really good going on here. We don't have any money in the bank account. If you want to leave because we don't have the money to pay you. Wow. But if you want to stay and you believe in us, I can guarantee you I'm going to find a way to get us out of this no matter what. We don't have no money right now, but I promise you tomorrow we will. And if you leave, then I get it. It makes sense. And then we went from 30 employees that day within the next 7 days to like having 3. And then mind you, me, Corey, his sister, and then, like those people I'm not counting because like we are kind of founded or whatever. Yeah. 3 employees outside of
decided to stay and stick it out with you.
To stay. And, you can imagine what that does to like, your mental or whatever. But I don't know, I'm just like, whatever, like, we going to get through it. So, but to answer your question of like, was there times where I wanted to quit? That was probably one of them, where I got into the shower that night and I was just like, I felt I couldn't even stand up. Like I just felt so weak. And I just sat down in the shower, like almost dropped a tear, just like, because what am I supposed to do? Like, do I go get out the shower and then post on Instagram and be like, hey guys, Sport Black College was a great run, but we ran out of money, it's over? Do I call my mom and tell them that I failed? Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I ended up just being like, asking myself, this is a key point for all entrepreneurs too. It's like, don't tie your identity to the business. Because I realized that my identity was too tied into the success of the business. I felt good when the business did good. I felt good when we had celebrities wearing our merchandise, whatever. But I realized that my identity and who I am was not the success of the business. And the things that I gained during these trying moments was strong character traits, strong relationships, and et cetera. And that's what really mattered. So I realized that like I can use those character traits of resilience and belief in myself and the relationships that I built to get this business back to where it once was. And then that next day, I just making phone calls all day long. And I ended up getting someone to loan us $100,000 and they wired it to us the same day.
That's crazy.
And I put 20,000 of it to the side to like pay back the loan and to fired everybody like, or that didn't quit. They are like, most of them quit. Some were like lingering around that were just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Had to fire some unnecessary, folks, and we just started pushing from there again. And that was a few years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Looking back, would you have done anything different?
Yeah. Looking back, one of the things that when I'm looking back now is I wish that I would have stood more strongly on the opinions that I knew were right. So, because when you're in business with someone in general, it's just 50-50. It's like you're going back and forth. So there needs to be some sort of like operating agreement in place for how you make decisions.
100%, yeah.
That's number one. And then number two is I should have just stood more strongly on what I knew was right. And because what I realized is that if you don't make a decision, you're making a decision by indecision. So if I'm just like, all right, yeah, it's cool. I'm telling myself I'm not making a decision, but I actually made a decision in the other favor because I was just trying to be chill about it.
Yeah.
So I realized that not standing up for what I knew was right or what I believed in allowed something else that I didn't necessarily believe in that may have harmed the company. That was my fault. So I have to take accountability for not standing up in certain places.
Wow.
And, I feel like it goes both ways. I always tell Corey too, like, bro, I messed up. You messed up. We both, whatever.
Both of y'all learned from it.
We just both learn. It is what it is.
Yeah. So what are you doing now? Like, with Support Black Colleges, you guys overcame that. You guys were able to transition the business, but you then blossomed into like your own business. Tell us a little bit about what you got into.
Yeah. So I started to get really passionate about just teaching people all of the things that we went through so that they can avoid it. And I was just like, I felt like it was my moral obligation to actually help people do that, because if not, then they were going to go through the pain that I went through. Ooh. So I was like, let me just start talking about this stuff. So I kind of just started taking my personal brand and content more seriously. Okay. And I felt passionate about it because I knew what we were able to do and how many people we were able to impact with our business. And I was like, if I can just teach 1, 2, 5, 10, 100 people what we did, then we can impact millions of people just by me teaching them what we did and what we went through.
Did you guys start teaching before Clubhouse? Because I know you guys used to do like I think you did like jewel nights or drop-in gyms or whatever it was. Like at midnight you'd go live, right? But like, did that start before? Like, or was, I know that you guys did some like paid events where people could come and learn about like your guys' Black Friday strategy and things like that. But where did the coaching part come into where you guys were, both of you, but then maybe independently by yourself, did you start doing that?
So funny story. It actually started with Neo, and you talked to Neo before. So it's a long story, but I'll try to condense it. So we were doing well with Sport Black College. We had a gentleman named Leon that was running our ads. And Leon called me one day and said, hey, I got a client, Halani and Jason Lobdell, Mr. 2 weeks out, Miss 2 weeks out. They're about to pay someone like $15,000 to consult with them on their Shopify store. Y'all are both my client. Can you just go help them out? And I'm like, all right, cool. Tell them don't pay. I called them. I'm like, where are you at? They was like, come to the gym. I went to the gym and I sat with them for like 3 hours and just, this is what's wrong. This is what's right. This is how you fix it. And they fixed it and they went on to do $1 million their first year in business after we had that conversation. And I was like, that's dope or whatever, but I wasn't a coach or a teacher. Like I was just helping someone out. So then after that, I started to see Jason would post like Fridays where him, Neo, him 500, a few others would be going to like Topgolf and masterminding together. So I started trolling Jason because we followed each other that day. Yeah. I started trolling him like, y'all old heads, man. Y'all don't got this game that the young guys got. And I'm just messing with him like, y'all don't got the sauce.
I can teach y'all something.
I'm like, y'all don't got the sauce that the kids got, man. And he's like, man, I'm gonna invite you to one of these joints. And then like 2 or 3 went by. I didn't get an invite to him. them. And then the next one that came, they actually invited me. Nice. And that's a powerful message to be said there too, because a lot of times when we're doing influencer marketing and we send something like Rick Ross didn't post us for 3 years. He got something this day, and then for 2 or 3 years later, then he finally wore it. That's ample opportunity for me to be like, what are you doing? What's going on? Who's your PR? Blah, 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 and be salty about it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, bro, no hard work goes unnoticed. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen one of these days.
It's going to be the title of the episode. No hard work goes unnoticed.
There you go. So then with Jason and them, they finally invite me to a mastermind. I go to the mastermind, and the first person I meet is Neo. And I sit down next to Neo. I don't know him from a can of rocks. And he looks at me. He's like, man, what you do, bro? And I'm just like... you know Neo. He's like, yo, what's your name? He's like, no, I see you do the clothes, right? He's like, yeah, what you do, man? And I was like, yeah, we sell clothes. Got a brand called Sport by College. And he's like, man, if you don't mind me asking, like, how much money you make from doing that type of stuff?
He
like,
jumps right in.
Yeah, you know how he does. He's like, what'd you do this month? And I was like, man, we did like $650,000 this month. And then he was like, that's what's up, bro. Like, you're killing it. He's like, you teach people how to do it too? And I was like, nah, I do the business. Yeah. And then he was like, bro, you know you can be making $650 a month telling people how to do what you do, then rather than you just doing it. He's like, low key, bro, like that's low key kind of selfish too. Like you just holding all the, you just doing it all.
You with the morals.
You know how you do. It's like you holding all the game. You kind of gatekeeping the information. You're not giving it out to the people.
And
blah,
that's
blah,
the
blah.
wrong thing to say to somebody like you, because you care a lot about that.
Right. So I was just like, what do I do? You know, like, I don't know what to do. And then he was just like, he was like, bro, write an ebook. And I'm like,
it's so funny. Full circle. Now you're telling me.
I'm like, all right, bro. So, and mind you, this is another thing that we have to take away from this too, is that there's parts of me that wishes that I wouldn't have done it.
Really?
And there's parts of me that I'm glad that I did.
Okay.
Reason being is because I'm very big now on centralized focus. So when Neo invited that other opportunity to me, that took away naturally some focus. Now for me, a little bit less because I'm already putting in like 16, 18 hours a day. But that did take away a little bit. I was still overcompensating for what a normal person would do, but it did take away. So now any newer entrepreneur, if you're getting invited to all these other opportunities like we talked about earlier, bro, just stay focused on one. And I'm glad that I did take the challenge because it led me to something that I'm very super passionate about, super purposeful behind. And so ended up writing the ebook. He's like, bro, you got 7 days, man. Just write the ebook, write down everything that you know. I'm like, all right. So I would wake up. I love
how he gave you he put some fire under your ass. He's like, get it done.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, like, I'm just like, whatever. At this point in my head, it's just like, I think about it like this. If I have an opportunity to do good and help and I don't, and it's like, why didn't I? So I'm like, all right, I know that putting this information down will help somebody, whether it's me because it's organized or other people because it helps them, whatever. Yeah. So I write it in like 7 days, maybe 14 days. And I text him and I was like, it's done. Like, what do I do now? And then he was like, wow, I didn't think that.
And Neo loves execution.
Yeah, he does. So he was like, he was just like, damn, I like most people I tell to do that, they never execute. So like, I'm very, proud that you did that or whatever. And then from there, he would just give me like little tips here and there. And we just kind of like conversed. But then I got very serious about it because I'm the type of person, like once I get a taste or once I do something, I have to know everything about it and go all in.
You're obsessed.
So I wrote the book. And then from there, I discovered on my own, like, ClickFunnels and just building a Shopify and then upsells, downsells, all of that.
Let's pause that because first of all, when I got on Clubhouse and I met you guys, I had no idea what the hell Shopify was. I think I thought it was like some type of scam thing, like drop shipping. I was like, that's definitely, a Ponzi scheme and you're never going to get your And I had no idea. I thought Shopify when I first started was like a credit repair service because all the credit repair people were talking.
Oh my God.
ClickFunnels sounded like a cult of these people who would just go to this conference and they're like 10 million every year. And I'm like, this is all bull. There's no way they're making this much money.
Crazy. That's so crazy.
I had no idea. So for those who are listening who have no idea what the hell e-commerce is, have no idea, like me a few years ago, not even 2 years ago, right? Break that down for like, what does it mean? Why should people listening care? Right? Like just walk us through it.
All right. So e-commerce is just electronic commerce. You're selling things online.
Mm-hmm.
I personally like to use Shopify because I'm simple.
Are you getting a check from them, by the way?
Now, yes.
Good.
But at first, no. But it was never about that. But
no, I know.
Right. But so e-commerce, selling things online, electronic commerce. Then you have Shopify. Shopify is a platform that allows you to sell stuff online. Mm-hmm. So it enables you to do e-commerce. So I can put my products there, build my website, etc. Drop shipping is a business model. So you have drop shipping, which is you contact the manufacturer in China. Mm-hmm. They say, hey, we got this product for $10. Mm-hmm. You then make a website, preferably on Shopify, and you sell that product for $20. Mm-hmm. You use organic content or ads to draw people to that website, and then you sell it for $20. Mm-hmm. You send your manufacturer $10 because that's all it costs, and then the manufacturer sends that product directly to the customer. You don't have to buy stock. You don't have to touch the inventory. All you had to do was build a website and get people to buy a product.
So you're the middleman okay, got it.
That's drop shipping. Then you have stuff like print on demand where, this is a bunch of different business models. But yeah, I mean, and then ClickFunnels, totally separate situation.
How'd you get in ClickFunnels? Because like each of these things for new entrepreneurs, it is, at least for me, very intimidating, right? Yeah. I was learning about SMS messaging and email marketing and then traffic sourcing and ads all at the same time. And it's all brand new, which is why it took me 4 months to write an ebook. Cause I just didn't know where to focus. And you have people just like, oh, just do ConvertKit, just do Dipsado, just do, and I'm just like, huh? Like, I don't understand what, so help us understand the ClickFunnels portion.
Okay. ClickFunnels is, so you have a website and then you have a funnel. Mm-hmm. Websites, typically how people use them, I call them like a glorified business card because they're not made to transact. Shopify, a little different, you can sell stuff. But most people are selling services or digital products and they are not taking a customer through a sales process. It's like, here's my website, here's my contact number, hit me up if you want to buy something.
Yeah.
A funnel is structured to evoke emotion, urgency, scarcity, tell someone about your product, and then them be able to go through a sales funnel or a sales journey that educates them on the product, sells them on the product, and then also sells them other products. So you have upsells, downsells, et cetera. Yeah. So I like to use funnels for my digital product businesses and Shopify for my physical product businesses. But once I learned about I already knew that these things existed because I was kind of already in the mix or whatever. But then I just kind of dove more deeply into ClickFunnels when I started to do digital products, when I got super, super big on it. And then that led from me writing the book to knowing everything about ClickFunnels, then discovering webinars, then discovering coaching programs, then done for you services and done with you services and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So now, to answer your former question, that's what I'm doing now, which is doing my business, Sport by College, then showing people as I'm doing it what I'm doing, and then doing my personal brand, just content and showing them all of the game that they don't want to show about doing the physical product business. I just lay it all out there.
Before, with Neo and them, you're so kind of solo. You're definitely a man's man. You're really cool, very laid back, easy to get along with. But in terms of access and visibility, did you have anybody showing you how they were making these 6-figure months, 7-figure months, or did you just stumble upon it? And I don't say stumble to disqualify your work, right? Obviously, this wasn't a handout. But I know for me, the reason why I'm asking is for me, I definitely thought y'all are all full of shit. I just there's no way.
Hey, I love it.
There's just no way that all these guys are just friends and they go play basketball and they're like, oh, what'd you make? $1 million? What'd you make? Oh, okay. I'll pitch to my audience. I was like, are y'all what the is going on? I'm not even trying to be funny. I'm being honest, right?
Please.
Because it's if you don't have a concept of how people make money, it just all sounds like a scam. Right? Because there are a lot of people scamming people out of and I don't know a lot about investing or whatever, but it's oh, give me money and I'm going to teach you how to make money type thing. Right. So without context, these don't seem like legit businesses. But now you're finding where, influencing was one of those sketchy things, who's paying you and how are you making money? But you're just posting pictures, right? So unless you understand the business model, it just really seems risky, not clear, ambiguous type of products?
So this is a great conversation because I look at it the totally opposite way.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about my childhood.
And the funny thing is because I even made a video about this. I'm going to post it sooner or later. But I was talking about how like college is a real scam. So
listen, I've learned. Okay, so before you get into that, I'm sorry for cutting you off because now I'm excited. I now, knowing what you guys have showed me, and even now I'm just starting to get into it, right? Now I know like this whole thing about like getting a job in college and then 60 years to retirement and 401ks, like that whole American dream thing is really the scam.
Yeah.
And that's what I say now. So it's funny that you mentioned that. But yeah, tell me about the video that you made.
So the reason that I'm saying I look at it from a different way than you did is because I looked at it like this. There's someone that is specialized that has made millions of dollars doing the thing that I want to do that will teach me all of it for $1,000 or $5,000, or I go to a university for tens of thousands of dollars a month or a year to learn from somebody that isn't specialized, that isn't currently doing the business that they're teaching me. And
that's right. Your professors are just reading from a damn book.
and the business world is moving so fast that Facebook ads, if you tried to write a textbook on it, it'd be different in 30 days. So you can't even teach me the necessary skill sets that I need as a business owner because the textbooks can't be updated fast enough. So
that's
the way
crazy,
that,
but
that's
it's
how
true.
I looked at it.
That's so funny.
It's like I would rather, I thought it was more risky to give a university hundreds of thousands of dollars to maybe get a job.
That's why you make millions and I don't.
It's not even a guarantee.
You're right. And I think to a point, it's kind of like brainwashing, right?
Yeah, it is.
When you, and I think of like, I know that you know people who went to Howard with you and they were great students. It's almost like once they're molded for that, it's very hard to break out of that.
Exactly.
But then there's the students who they never did well, probably your ass, right? Partying, promoting, and making money, having a great time. But in terms of the progression of college, probably not the best, right? But then here you are in entrepreneurship and killing it.
This is the thing. And it's because people don't I didn't do my research either. So I don't, blame anybody. High school was built to get you to come to a place on time, to train you to become a better worker. The bell rings, go to your class. You eat lunch at this time.
Obedience,
you learn and you do these things,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, now you're going to college, you're getting funded with debt to learn. And back in the day, college was affordable. It was affordable, and also you were learning skills that would get you a job.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, cool.
The ROI was like actually positive.
Made sense. So now it's just like it's not that anymore. So that's why I thought about those things, and I'm like, all right, it's unfortunate because the old model doesn't work anymore in this new area, but people are still going by the old model. And that doesn't mean, and this is the thing too though, is like, I'm not throwing shade at college. I went to college, I graduated, so I get it. I partaked in the scam. But because like, my mom was like, no, you're gonna finish and whatever. But and it's not to throw shade at anybody that goes to college and gets a job and gets six figures. Congratulations. That's just not me.
Yeah.
Because I know that my earning potential doesn't have to be capped. And I know that I can, if I don't find a way to make money while I'm sleeping, I'll be working till the day that I die.
It's so amazing that you figured that out as early as you did, honestly. And even like I have, family members who say that to me, like, you're so lucky that you're figuring this out now, right? While you still have time on your side, you still have your youth.
Right.
And I think you're 100% correct that when you're talking about the freedom that entrepreneurship gives you, I think for me, the reason why I was just hesitant to believe it is like, I mean, where's the receipts? Like, it's cool you got like Lambos and all of that stuff, but I was very much like a skeptic, and it's like, and also a lot of times in the advertising or in the promotions, they're not telling you anything tangible.
Right.
It's like, if you want to learn how to do this, get my ebook. And I'm like, do I look dumb to you? Like, you're not telling me what's going to be in the ebook.
Look, let me tell you why though.
Now understand why to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
Like it's part of the funnel, right?
So there's two things. One, you can't say money and time frame when you're advertising because that's illegal. So I can't say yo, buy my ebook and you'll learn how to make $10,000 in 90 days.
Yeah.
It may be true, but Facebook, TikTok, et cetera, will not let you advertise in that way. You'll get banned. So that's number one. I didn't know that. And then number two, the reason why you do it in that way is because the goal is to induce curiosity enough for you to want to take action.
Yeah, and I'm so risk averse that
there's
no amount of curiosity. My curiosity really stems from if you tell me a result, like I achieved this,
right,
then I'm like, okay, cool. But I think, and maybe I'm just like weird about it, but I think it also goes back to like our childhood, right? And you know, my dad is an immigrant African. He came from Eritrea, right? So we're the way he thinks about money and being thoughtful about every dollar that you have. Right. I'm like, I'm gonna give you how much money for what? Hell no, that ain't about to happen. But to your point, you know, as I slowly started seeing enough that I was like, I could do this, seeing myself in you, seeing myself in Corey, and be like, we're not too far off. Like, I'm smart. Like, I could figure this stuff out. And then slowly realizing like, oh, like it's not just like some crypto shit or some really ambiguous thing, even though crypto is legit, let's be clear. But even that, I was like, this is I was really missing out on a lot of money.
So crazy.
And so I don't know if people relate to that or people feel the same way that I did. But then slowly, once the current was kind of pulled back, right? I remember one of the first conversations I actually had with you, you had blurted out. I was like, I think I was mentioning like, I don't really know what I want to do. And, you know, I don't want to be boxed in and I want to be unique. But I also like, I don't want to trade in my job for like another like slave type situation, right? Or like a confined situation, right? And you had said something like, oh, like, you know, you wear your scarves and you're super dope. Like, why don't you do like a streetwear or gym wear or something like that? And I was like, I could never do that. I don't know what I said. I was just like kind of waved it off. And you're like, no, it's really easy. And I was like, explain it to me. You're like, you get a vendor and I was like, okay, where's the vendor, right? Because you know the audio with Monique. She's like, thing. Right? So you're like, yeah, you just get a vendor and they're overseas, then you ship them a sample of what you want and then they'll make it and then it'll take, you know, a few weeks to get to you and then you guys go back and forth and then when you like it, you get an arrangement. And I was like, well, have you done that? You're like, yeah. And I was like, so did you give me the contact? You're like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. Right? And I was like, okay, now I have a bunch of product. Now what I do? You're like, no, I didn't say to go buy the product. Right. You know, you gave me the play of like pre-ordering it. And I was like, oh my God, that really works. Like, and then it started to be in a sense where I could understand it. And I was like, okay, I get it. Right. And now slowly I'm working on newsletter. Slowly I'm working on like even with the podcast thing, right? Like trying to figure out like what value do I want to add, giving that for free and at some point monetizing. Yeah. And so I think it's really amazing how open you are from the very beginning of when I met you. But even when, you know, I ended up working with you, like you were very hesitant to not... Your tendency was to give above and beyond, whether there was a price point attached or not. And you kind of developed this reputation of like always dropping gems. And now your page has completely blown up and you have like 500,000+ followers. And all you're doing is sharing like manufacturers and like things that I know people are charging. There's people who won't tell you what the manufacturers are because that's like trader information, secret information. Because if you knew where I was getting my quality hoodies from, what's to prevent you from throwing a design on it and now we're in competition? Right. So all of that to say, at this point, what inspired you to be so open with information?
Yeah. I think that it was, I didn't have the information when I first got started. And then I think that it is breeding innovation in the space. So obviously some people are happy about it. Some people aren't happy about it.
Right.
But
they're like, man, I just figured this out. You telling everybody?
But this is the thing. It's like, it's first of all, everything that I'm sharing is public information. I just have done it for so long that I have archives of like who I'm using, where I'm going or whatever. So I'm just like, who am I to keep that from someone like you, right? That you're jumping new into the space. You don't know what's going on, who to use, who to trust. Because when I first got started, I sent $10,000 to a manufacturer and then never heard from them again. So still to this day. So now my thing is this, is like, people need this information. A lot of people aren't as resourced as I was when I jumped into it, saving up so much money. If they took a $10,000 L, they'd be in poverty.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, they need this information. It's readily available. I have it. And it's going to help a lot of people. So I'm just like, why not give it out? And then also, a lot of these people don't have the resources to travel to these places to network with manufacturers. They don't have a computer to look up these things. So it's like, if I could just give it out and then help empower those people, then one, it'll increase my influence, it'll increase my impact, and then maybe somewhere down the line, it'll increase my income because they might trust me enough to work with me in the future.
Yeah. And I think even when we were working together, you said that a lot. Like, I want people to trust me, and I want people to know that if I'm giving them information, there's like no strings attached, right? Yeah. How has that supported you and helped you in your business?
Oh, man, it's just like 10x everything. Because the way that I look at it now is like, if my free information is someone's course information, can you imagine what my paid information is going to be like? Yeah. Or what having access to me on the weekly basis is going to be like?
Crazy.
So that's been my strategy. Yeah. Give away all of my best content for free, and then charge for the information packaged in a structure where you can go somewhere from A to Z and get a desired transformation. Yeah. Because there's a ton of information on Google, TikTok, Facebook, but it's a lot of
effort to get that.
It is.
It'll shorten your learning curve if you have someone to structure it for you and take you through the progression.
That's the issue. I go on TikTok and then someone's saying, don't do this. And I go on Facebook and then someone's saying, no, he's wrong, do that. Then I go on Google and they're like, both of them are wrong. This is what you need to be doing. And I'm like, I'm overwhelmed and I am confused. Yeah. And if I'm confused, what do I do? Nothing. Right? So that's what I do. It's just like, yo, here's everything that you need for real from someone that's doing it on the daily basis. No strings attached. But if you want the curriculum from A to Z, step by step packaged, by all means, work with us. Yeah. Or if not, all of the information is on my page for free. Go grab it.
That's crazy.
So then some people are like, well, I implemented step A to C, but I'm having a little snag at step D. Can I work with you more closely and you help me in my business? And then that's where you charge for the information, the access, or the actual implementation where we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So
curious to ask you, right? So when I met you, Support Black Colleges was making millions of dollars already. But it feels like over the last 2 years, there has been like another level up with you, right? Where obviously your following has grown crazy. You launched your course, your ebook, and all of that took off. You killed it with the webinars, right? Oh, yeah, so, what were some of the things that happened that took you from like already, some people like haven't even imagined that level that you had already accomplished, let alone now where you're at.
Right. It's very interesting actually, because Support Black College, I wasn't even paying myself from that business. Like, well, we were taking like maybe, I say not paying myself because I wasn't taking a lot in retrospect to what we were making. I was paying myself $5,000 a month. Wow. And we were doing $600,000, $1 million a month, whatever. So we were just pouring it all back into the business. Wow. So in retrospect, it may have seemed like I was making a ton of money because I was, but I wasn't extracting a lot of money.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I think maybe you were one of the first people who like walked me through that, or maybe it was Corey, that like when people show like their, I don't know what it is on Shopify where it shows you how much, the screen shares, right? Like, oh yeah, $4 million in the last quarter, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that's how much people are keeping in their business. For sure. Right? Like the business could be self-sufficient where it's running, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're making even six figures that you get to keep at home, right? Yeah. So talk to us about like how that was versus like where you're at now.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the thing. In businesses, it's all of the profit margins are going to be different. So for me personally, the way that I like to do business, especially in that startup phase, was just pour it all back into the business and then extract enough to like live off of and whatnot. So the business was growing so fast because we were pouring so much into it. And we've gotten like cash offers like, yo, I'll give you $6 million cash for the business. I'll give you whatever. So that just because you're not extracting money doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to make money or extract it whenever you want. So, but yeah, I mean, like you said, with different screenshots that people put up, you never know the profit margin. Typically in the e-commerce business, you'll be somewhere between like, I'd say like 10 to 30% profit take home, depending on the type of business that you're in. Some people have way bigger margins than that. So I don't know, so to answer your question though, the change that happened from like e-com to digital was I wasn't taking a lot of money out of the business. I remember, it's crazy. I've never told this story, so this is actually good. When I was doing, so how do I want to preface? I want to make sure I tell it right. All right, I wasn't taking that much money from the business. I was taking about $5,000 a month. I saved up $30,000. That's all when we were doing $600,000, $1 million a month. I personally had $30,000 in my bank account.
Wow.
So I pay $10,000 to shoot my course. Mm-hmm. I paid $10,000.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't know the numbers, but.
Right. So you didn't know I had $30,000.
Wow.
I paid $10,000 to shoot the course. Mm-hmm. I paid $10,000 for Words to do the funnel and to coach me.
Shout out to Words. He's
awesome.
Shout out
Words. And then I paid $10,000 in like advertising and stuff. So I bet on myself once again. I paid $10,000 to start Sport by College and had nothing. I'm in this middle road. I paid $30,000 and I have nothing in my bank account. Sheesh. And then the webinar that I did, I made $170,000 that first day of me ever doing online business. And then from there, I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, but also we have to keep in perspective too. And I was given free game for like a year.
More than a year.
Probably more than a year before I was able to even make that type of ask. Mm-hmm. So, that was the transition, and that was some of the things that were happening in between that a lot of people didn't know about. I'm always the type, I'm very like risky, just go all in and pay the best.
And you bet on yourself a lot too. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is the first season. Like I've tried a lot of stuff like influencing and then the Reels coaching. Right. I feel like with the podcast, this is like the first time I've completely bet on me. Like, we were talking about when you got in here, like all this camera equipment, like I figured out how to do it by myself, and I'm not the best at it, but I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out, right? And so no matter what, I'm like all in, gonna get it done no matter what. And I can't even tell you the thing that clicked, right? That's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. But I was very surprised to see that even people that you look up to, right? Like I definitely look up to you and Corey, right? Mm-hmm. Even them, there's constantly, you guys are constantly leveling up, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people, like even the Neos, when I was interviewing him, he was even saying that like he's not done, right? Like he told me a story. He said he was in like a mastermind and some crazy amount of money. My brain literally couldn't even remember it because it was so absurd. And he said that the guy asked him like how much. He's like, oh, like 4 or 5 million. He's like, oh, I remember when I used to do that. That's cute, or something like that. Yeah. And Neil was like, what? He's like, but it put me into perspective. He's like, and I don't get off of my ego with that. I'm just like, dang, that means that there's more opportunity to be made. There's more levels. Let's go get it. Right. And I just thought that was really incredible because it's when you get to the amount of success that you see on like Instagram or whatever with people like you, it can feel like you've arrived. Right. But the real winners understand that there's more to accomplish, more to learn, more mistakes to make, more failures. And so I think that was awesome.
That's why I love Masterminds. Like I love Masterminds, not because of the information, but because of the exposure. Because I believe that you can only aspire to the level of exposure that you have.
100%.
So I get into these mastermind rooms and I'm willing to pay. I just got out of a $25,000 mastermind.
Nice.
To literally just be in the room and to get access to information, like get information just in general, and then just to be in the right room to elevate and to be exposed to like newer heights. Yeah. And I think that that's a big piece of it, is investing in yourself to get that exposure, but also killing your ego as you go along the ride too, which I don't think a lot of people struggle with. So that's like one of my biggest things is I always tell myself whenever I enter these rooms, number one is like I have nothing to gain, nothing to lose, and nothing to prove. I'm just here to become a better person.
That's amazing.
And that has taken me really far, because as you level up, like you're saying, in business with multiple people, a lot of people get stopped at a specific level because they can't relinquish their ego. And it's because, think about it, right? Let's just say you're shipping packages, but then someone has to come in to ship those packages, but you're like, I'm the best at doing this. No one can do it as fast as me.
That's
no
so
one can
dangerous.
do it as whatever, right? Your ego keeps you at this level. Now, let's say you go to the next level. No one can manage these people that are shipping these packages better than me. I'm the best manager or whatever. You stay at that level, but that might be a difference from $100,000 to $1 million. Then you go even further than that. No one has a better vision for this company than me. Like, I'm the CEO. Like, no one can handle this better than me. And then you don't realize that until you get to that million, 10 million, 100 million level, where it's that there may be someone that has more vision for your founding idea than you actually had yourself. And it will take you to eliminate your ego for you to actually be able to get the success that you wanted for yourself.
That's incredibly powerful.
I think it's the putting yourself in these masterminds and getting exposed so that you can aspire to be something better, and then also not having any ego as you go along the way.
100%. Yeah, I think masterminds, Neo said the same thing, like masterminds really are a cheat code. And it's funny because like my first mastermind was with Audria.
Oh, nice.
And it was like 5,000. And I was like shaking when I pressed purchase, right? Because I was like, what am I doing, right? But I made back my money in like less than 2 weeks. Right. And I was like, this is what they're doing in these masterminds. No kidding. Like, you know what I mean? Like now I get it why there's exclusivity and there's a really expensive, ticket to them.
Right. And
I found now, like I think, and actually let me take that back. Audrey was the first mastermind I joined, but the first big investment that I made in myself for my business was like a $500 1 hour call.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I was just like, what the hell is wrong with me? And I even found like a coupon of like, if you sign up for the email list and you get like, so it was like $300. I was still shaking. Like I cannot believe I'm spending this kind of money to talk to someone for an hour. But from the $500 call that I had, I made $1,000 in 24 hours from the feedback, like from one of the sentences she said.
Right.
And then with Audria's, I made my money back just from the clients that I met in her class, right? Like other peers who we're exchanging. I'm like, I bought stuff from them, they bought stuff from me. So I made my money back before the accelerator was even open, it was even done, which was amazing. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Whatever, if you're picking the right masterminds, let's be clear, right? Yeah. If you're picking the right ones, then you're going to get that ROI and in ways that you haven't even imagined. Even connections that I made from, what was that, 2 or 3 years ago are still paying off now, now that I'm trying to do the podcast.
Exactly. And this is the way I think about it. A mentor told me this, and he was like, Justin, there's a reason why you get into these masterminds. And I was like, what do you think it is? He was like, obviously, you get a ton of information and you can execute on it and you can make a lot of money. But he said, I'm going to tell you a quick story about what happened to me when I joined a $50,000 mastermind. I was like, all right, cool. He sends off the $50,000. He gets into the group Facebook or whatever, and then he's talking about who he is, and everybody's giving him feedback. One girl does the same thing that he does, and they just start conversing or whatever. And then he was like, "You know who that girl is?" And I was like, "Who?" And he pointed in the corner. He was like, "It's her right there. That's my wife, and we've been together for 13 years."
Wow.
So he said, Justin, what you get from these masterminds, you're going to get information from it. But the biggest benefit that you're going to get are the unknown positives that come from it that you weren't even thinking about that were going to actually happen. Yeah. I got my wife from the mastermind, but also I got tons of relationships that I can't even tell you how much it was worth. Yeah. So that just led me to even more so further believe in like $25,000. What if I just get one thing that I needed, whether it's one piece of information or one person too, because a lot of times people think that they're one bar or one gym away from changing everything, when really you're also one person away from changing everything well too. Yeah. So that's why really why I love the just masterminds in general. I'll pay whatever to like get what I need.
I love that. And it's so crazy. Like, and I don't know, are you comfortable telling like the difference between the money that you were making at Support Black Colleges versus now that you're doing webinars and...
Yeah. I don't care. I mean, I think that I'm in a very unique position. I think that I'm one of the only people that has made more in my business that I teach about than actually making from teaching about the business. So I made more in Support Black Colleges than I have in the teaching so far. Okay. I do think that the teaching is going to outweigh Support Black College sooner or later because it's a more leverageable opportunity. More people are willing to pay a higher amount for specified knowledge than people are willing to pay for, $50 in a hoodie or whatever. Yeah. So whatever you want to talk about, I don't care. But
okay. So what... You said you made I was there when you made $100,000 and we were talking about the screenshots and I was like, you did what?
Right.
Right. And then like you were hiring your team. Shout out to Maria. She's amazing. Yeah, great. So like, did that feel different considering the fact that you already had success, or was it still like a triumph for you? Because you're just so even keel. Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I guess I just be looking at it like, I just see so much more for myself. So it's just like, even when that type of stuff happens, I kind of am just like, all right, that's what's up. Like let's just go
on
to the next
one.
Yeah.
So now, like, what are your profit margins, or how much do you like actually get to keep now that you're teaching, if you don't mind?
Oh, from the teaching side, I'd say a very conservative number that I'd be comfortable feeling like I'm not lying is 45%. To be honest, 48%. So,
those are really good margins.
Yeah, and I think that we're not even like all the way optimized. So some of the mentors that I've been paying 25, whatever thousand, they're at like 75, 80% margins. So like the dude that I just got out of a $25,000 mastermind with, he did 1.1 million last month coaching alone, and he took home 75% of it. So,
damn,
you know, $800-ish thousand pocketed. Mm-hmm. So I'm at like 45, 48, mm-hmm. and I think that we got some growth, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah. You mentioned that you also have like visions of like bigger and better things. So, mm-hmm. you know, these accomplishments, while you're grateful for them, you know, don't shake you too much. Yeah. Like, what's your end goal? Like, what's the final?
So the way that like me and some of the homies look at it is we think that this is a industry or a space that is being built. So we call it edutainment. So it's mm-hmm. like you educate and you entertain. A lot of times you just see education, and then other times you just see entertainment. Mm-hmm. Education only is really boring. Entertainment only is sometimes toxic. Mm-hmm. So right. we try to merge them together. So we think that there's going to be people that are like edutainers. So like mm-hmm. people like me, where it's like, I'm not like and no shade to anybody, like a Ty Lopez or Adrian Morrison, these guys that made hundreds of millions of dollars in webinars. I dress like this, and I can like do music. I could freestyle if I wanted to, like, but I also know how to build a business that does tens of millions of dollars. Yeah. So how do we merge those two to bring the culture mm-hmm. to the education and become like Drake level talent? But I could tell you, yeah, you see the jet that I just bought, this is how I financed it. This is the lender that I use, and this is how I built my credit to be able to afford it as well. Mm-hmm. And then also, I dress nice too. Yeah. So we think that there's going to be like an industry that kind of like blossoms from that too, and you know we're excited about where it's at right now.
Very cool. So this is just the beginning of your mind.
Yeah, I see like ourselves like in the future. It's like, you know, we could do conferences like stadiums like a Drake would do, mm-hmm. but we can give a keynote, or I could do a song, or I could give a presentation on how I just made $5 million last month. Wow. And you can do all of them in one place.
Very
and
cool.
I think that would be interesting, because I always ask myself too, if I got in an Uber, mm-hmm. or even if I asked you, would you rather listen to, this could be any name, I'm just using them. Mm-hmm. Would you rather listen to Drake and Future and listen to the style of music they make and the subject matter that they make? Mm-hmm. Or would you rather listen to a Drake or a Future level talent that talks about something a little bit more positive, but it's not corny? Mm-hmm. And then also, he could teach you how to make $100,000.
Yeah, because I think even like Jay-Z kind of does it to a certain extent, right? Mm-hmm. Even in his music, he's dropping gems, he's teaching, and he gets both audiences. The people who are like, wait, I want to know what he's doing. He paid how much for this painting, right? But then there's also people who are really a fan of the music and the creative side, and that just becomes a gateway and a window for them to be able to get the information, which is super dope.
So that's, you know, that's where we see the future of it. So we just, you know, working on that and seeing how it goes.
So for entrepreneurs who are listening and they have like an idea, or they're like, okay, you know, Justin, you've kind of been there, done that. You've done physical products, you've done digital products, right? You've done e-commerce, you know, like you've done collabs and all of the stuff. Like maybe it's the edutainment thing that you're talking about, but like, where would you direct aspiring entrepreneurs in this space?
Yeah. If they're trying to get into entrepreneurship in general, my first thing is always self-awareness. You got to figure out where you want to go, what type of entrepreneur you want to be, and also what skills and assets of like yourself that you have, because there's a million ways to make money in entrepreneurship, but it doesn't mean that there's a million right ways for you to make money in entrepreneurship. So you have to figure out, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and what business models will provide me the lifestyle that I want to have. And then I think about now next is, what is the opportunity, right? So I want to do, hopefully in the ideal world, the thing that you love to do is also the thing that makes you the most money. So I look at, let's just say a brand new entrepreneur, a lot of them struggle because they get stuck in, I call it the liability loop, where it's like you see something cool on Instagram, you want to try it, you try it, it doesn't work in 6 months, and you quit. And then now you see something else, you try it, doesn't work, quit, see something else. And you just keep doing that. So my thing is like, look at all the opportunities that you have, whether it's Airbnb, crypto, building your own startup, whatever. Ask yourself, which one has the most leverage? So which one can make the most money? And then also ask yourself, which one do you feel like you would be the most passionate or have the most purpose behind? And then if you can't figure out which one will make you the most money, I just ask myself this, like, what do I genuinely feel in my gut is the right thing to do? Or what do I genuinely feel in my gut that will impact the most people? So that way, even if you're 80 and you're like, oh man, I should have gotten a crypto, but I jumped into Airbnb. You're like, at least I know that I made the decision I thought was right at the time. Yeah. So that there's no
And you
regret.
help people too.
That's it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And I lied. I actually have one more question.
Okay,
Where do you be finding these manufacturers from? I've been wanting to text you like, bro, what the hell? Like one of them was like, oh, you want to make these North Face jackets? I'll give you their supplier. And I'm like, I know that it's not on their website. Where the hell did you get this stuff from?
It's just like really deep diving in the internet. So there's like different places that you can go to find it. That one specifically, a friend actually gave to me. So a friend that his parents grew up in manufacturing, so they've been like in the business for like 30, 40 years. That's crazy. So they just collected information over a while, and that was just a friend gave me that one. But others, I just do like my own research and stuff too. That's
incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, I lied. One more question.
Okay.
In terms, like, you're really good at educating. Well, no, there's two things, because you didn't tell me the story about how you ended up sleeping, or how you've been sleeping on the floor.
Oh, okay.
But also, a question I was going to ask you just now is, you do really good with educating yourself online. What is your strategy with that? Like, I don't know anybody who can figure out some of the shit that you have.
Oh, okay. So for me, I think that the talent there is identifying what my current need is and then zeroing in on the best person in that space. So I will, and I look at like education a little bit differently than people, I think too. Most people, like let's just say a book, they'll grab a book and read it top to bottom. Yeah. And then for me, I look at them like gold mines. So it's like, I'm looking at the table of contents and like, what do I need? So then I'm just like, all right, I need this. And then I go and find exactly what I need. So now I'm cutting down on the time of like reading from top to bottom to just directly every day going to exactly what I need. And that's able to like supercharge the execution that I have as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's that. And then also I'm not very anymore. I don't like hold on to money, like hoard it as much as I used to. So I ask myself like very simple question when I'm like investing in masterminds and stuff. 3 questions really. Number 1, does this person seem like it would be fun to work with them?
Okay.
Number 2, will working with this person get me closer to my goal or further from my goal?
Okay.
And then number 3, do I have the funds available to make this purchasing decision today? So if it seems like it would be nice to work with them and their team, it seems like I'll be getting closer to my goal rather than further. And if I have the money, I'll make the decision.
I love that.
And it allows me to like make those decisions very quickly and get information and feedback from people that are vetted in the space very quickly, which is constant feedback loops are important. And then, yeah, I just do that every month.
Okay. I love that. Do tell me the story about how you ended up sleeping on the floor. I know the story, but like for the audience, because I remember I was like, this nigga's doing what?
Right.
What is he doing? And then you actually started posting like photos of them online in the last year, which is really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's weird. I read an article one day, basically, and in the article, this dude was talking about how he motivates himself by sleeping on the floor every day because he wakes up and he feels like I have to work super hard to get a bed or to deserve to sleep in my bed or something along those lines. I don't remember it exactly now.
Yeah.
And I just remember like being in that place where I wanted to have that level of hunger. So I started sleeping on the floor. And then also at that same time, I was in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people. So I had to sleep on the floor. Yeah. So sometimes I get the bed. Sometimes I let my cousin get the bed. Like right. I'm sleeping on the floor, not because of choice, it's because I literally had to.
Yeah.
So then when I started to do 6 figures in a month, 7 figures in a month or whatever, now that first it was to activate the hunger. Now I do it to remind me of what I've been through. So now it's like, don't ever feel like you make too much money. Don't ever feel like you're too cool. Don't ever feel like you're too rich or whatever. Just remember that as fast as it came, it can go. And you used to have to sleep on the floor for real. So be grateful that you don't have to, but you can still choose to remind yourself. And that's kind of why I do it now. I appreciate
it. I think I remember like just you're one of the most humble guys that I know, like super chill. So I think it's even in like your private stuff that people don't see, right? It's really amazing to see how you've been able to ground yourself despite the success. I think that's also contributing to how you're able to continue to elevate and continue to climb.
One thing I want to say about that too, because I was talking to Amir about that the other day, and the reason why I think I've been able to make that decision is because I truly don't feel the need to have anything else outside of me to like validate what I got going on. And I draw it from like this scripture in the Bible too. And I'm not by any means like the most spiritual, most religious or whatever, but it just stuck out to me when I was reading it. Timothy 6:18, it said something along the lines of like, if you just have clothing and food, then you should be fine with that. So that kind of really sat with me because it's like, it didn't even say shelter. So it's like, as long as I have food to eat and clothes on my back, then I should be perfectly fine.
Wow.
And I've always just grounded myself in that. It was like, nothing outside can make me happy. So I just choose to be joyful on the daily basis. And that means that there's nothing outside of me controlling how I feel and what I do.
Wow.
So it's more so just like,
you're self-regulated.
I don't need any of this extra, like, and I like to lead with that in my content as well as like how I teach and whatnot too. You don't need, I shot an ad the other day. I'm like, bro, you don't need a Lambo, a mansion or whatever to be successful in this industry. You just need information. And I didn't have it when I first got started. And now I want to share with you the information that I've been able to use to get X, Y, and Z. I did it from this room and I showed my room. I sleep on this floor like every single day. It doesn't matter about the outward possessions. It matters what you possess on the inside. And I have the information now. So I want to share with you. And like, I kind of do that now.
I love that. I love that. Okay, drop your handle so people know where to follow you.
Instagram, Justin P. Everything else, ecom, Justin P. I'm around.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you. You were amazing. And yeah, we're going to have to circle back with you and see how everything is going.
Whatever you need, you already know.
I appreciate that. Thank you, bro.
For sure.